BlackPrint podcast, where purpose meets power, where culture isn't just celebrated, it's constructed. I'm your host, Dr. VaShawn Smith, educator, leader, dream builder. Every episode, we're unlocking the blueprint to elevate schools, shift systems, and empower leaders who know that change doesn't start at the top, it starts within. So whether you're leading a classroom or a community, tap in, lean in, and let's build the future together. Welcome to the BlackPrint podcast, where we believe dreams become reality when culture is intentional. I'm your host, Dr. VaShawn Smith, school leader, professor, and purpose-driven practitioner. Each episode, we follow a blueprint I call mapping: mindset, approach, people, practice, impact, next steps, and gems, to highlight the stories and strategies behind excellence in education. Today's episode is extra special because this one is truly personal. The title of today's episode is The BlackPrint of Leadership Partners, from teacher neighbors to purpose-driven principals. And my guest, she's not just only a leader in early childhood education, she's actually family. I'm joined today by none other than Principal Danielle Blackstock, the K-2 principal at University Academy here in Kansas City. Danielle is the type of leader who brings grace, grit, and deep love for kids into everything she does. She's a passionate advocate for literacy, a believer in culturally affirming spaces, and a principal who leads with both compassion and clarity. But beyond that title, Danny has been my friend, my sister, and my sounding board for years. We literally taught side by side, neighbors in adjacent classrooms, and have grown from teachers with dreams to principals with purpose. Our bond was forged through lesson plans, laughter, hard moments, healing, and shared belief that leadership doesn't have to be lonely. She's steady when I'm spiraling, she's honest when I need a mirror, and she's brilliant in ways that makes her a professional better, especially for our young leaders. So today, you're not just going to hear about leadership, you're going to hear about legacy, about alignment, and about how friendship can fuel your purpose. Let's jump into it. What's good, bestie?
Oh, that was so sweet. Good morning, and I'm just honored that you considered me and thought of me. I know our friendship runs strong, but to feel valued as an educator, principal in this space by the legend, Dr. Smith, I don't even know what to do with myself this morning.
So, bestie, we finally have made it to the mic together, and I've been looking for this moment for so long because rarely do we get to pause in the middle of the work. And before we dive into the whole mapping thing, I have a lot to talk about with that. I just want to ask you, what is keeping you grounded lately? In this season of busyness, getting a whole new school year started, doing the great things at the University Academy, what gives back to you when you give so much to other people?
It's this is a great question. I am an elementary principal, and anybody that works in the elementary space, we are very cheesy. So every year we do a theme, and last year theme was Mission Possible. So it was like secret agent theme among staff, and then this year we upgraded them to superheroes. So one of the things is we always focus on our why, and we built a shield. What's your foundation? The S, what's your strength? And then on the outside, what are the kryptonites that we're no longer going to let take our energy or drain our energy as superheroes? And I always have to go to my why, and that's advocacy, and just like showing up for myself, but then also showing up for students, staff, and when things get hard, I just gotta like stay grounded. My faith, friendship, family, health, and just being my best self is also what keeps me grounded.
I appreciate that. So people, let me warn you now, go ahead and pause, go find your notepad, find your pen, because I have seen this amazing woman's journey from literally day one in education, and you're going to be in for a treat of a lot of gems, practices, and purpose things that's going to help change your leadership. Just what she started out with, the whole shield thing, talking about their purpose, the kryptonite thing is going to hold them back. She's already started out. So go ahead and grab your pens, grab your paper, get ready to take some notes. Go ahead and share this with a friend, another leader who needs some great energy put into their lives, because I'm telling you, this is going to be one for the history book. So with that, we're going to jump off into the framework. We're going to start out with mindset. So we both started as teachers, navigating some systems that really weren't probably built for us, but we had a lot of fun along the way. And now we sit in the role of the principalship. What mindset keeps you grounded as you lead little ones and guide your staff?
I think in leadership, I still always want to, state that I'm an educator first. I love teaching and learning. Um, External circumstances kind of pushed me into leadership. I would have been a teacher for forever if some other things didn't happen, which I'm grateful for. But just making sure that my mindset is always about what students first, as you navigate several hats as a person in leadership, and it's very hard to try to keep everybody happy. But at the end of the day, if I know that I'm putting students first, at least my belief it was putting students first, then I can sleep at night with the decisions that I make.
I like that putting students first. One of the things I always tell my staff, and if you come talk to any of my staff, they'll tell you, I believe in student needs over adult wants every day of the week. We always have to advocate for students, and then adults just have to adjust and make sure they're doing what's best for kids at the end of the day. So that child-centered mindset, I think, is why your leadership hits different, because a lot of leaders don't think from that perspective or think from that mindset. We both have served under some leaders who probably didn't come with that mindset at the forefront. Sometimes they led with the mindset of they want to make sure their teachers are happy, even if it costs students, what they need at the end of the day. So I would say I appreciate your leadership because it's rooted in purpose and presence in the classroom. Kind of shifting into that mindset and going into the approach side of things, as a principal, how do you intentionally lead with love, equity, high expectations for young scholars? And then kind of the second part of that question, what would you say is your signature style as a leader?
I think I have pretty high expectations for my staff and students, but my style is really just being my authentic self. As a Black woman, I know my melatonin is a little light, but as a Black woman in education or in leadership, when I first got into a leadership role, I felt like I had to do everything right. I couldn't really show up as my true self, and it just kind of locked me in a box of where I did not have a lot of joy, just being transparent as an assistant principal, and then as I navigated into a head principal role. So as I, had to unpack that and reprogram myself to be my authentic self, obviously, in a professional standpoint, I also advocate that and role modeling that for my students and my staff. I want them to bring joy to the classroom. I want them to bring themselves to the classroom. And I want their why to not be pushed to the back burner because of curriculum or, needs from the district. And so how does that show up? Me, best friend, I love games. I love competition. I love bringing people together. So one of those things is play is important to me. And that shows up in my personal life. So why would I cut that off in my professional life? So I'm always bringing those aspects into, our PDs or just with the students. I also am I want to be very present. Every other week I go to morning meetings, which is I have 15 classrooms. So that's a little hectic, but I do it because I remember as a child, I had no idea what principals did because I was a little goody two shoes. I didn't really get in trouble. And so I don't want that the only time our, minority students or Black students come to have any interaction with a principal or a dean of students is because I did something wrong. I want them to trust me and build that relationship. And then when I do have to follow up with consequences or harder conversations, that I've already added to that bucket.
So I want to kind of dig into that a little bit more before we move on, because something that you said at the beginning, you said that when you first moved into the role of administrator at the AP role and then later into the principalship, you kind of put yourself in this box because you had to feel like you had to be perfect. You had to know it all. And a lot of young principals, administrators believe that they have to know all the answers. They can't make any mistakes or like that. What shifted you away from that mindset and allowed to free you to kind of just be authentically you?
I think mentorship, talking to yourself, other administrators, prayer, family, and just walking in confidence and purpose that like God did not choose you to be in this position because he wanted to dim your light. And just also, kudos to my peers, the principals at my school are all Black women. My leadership, they they respect us and they give us the autonomy. And so feeling like at my level and then above, like definitely helped me like open up, and also just having that comfortability, being vulnerable with the people that I trust. That's my office staff, that's my assistant superintendent, my superintendent, and then also my mentors. And so like just kind of peeling that onion back. And I think also too, just being transparent. I became administrator at 26. Anybody remember themselves in their 20s? Like, I didn't say things the best way. I probably didn't have the best attitude. So I felt like what was safe was to check the boxes, get my job done, and, you know, not necessarily build those relationships. Another thing I noticed too is I was not putting students first, and I was not putting my staff first by not building relationships with my staff. I was doing what's best for Danielle. It is easier for me to have a hard conversation with someone that I don't have a relationship with. If I hurt your feelings or it doesn't go well, I'm not gonna, feel a type of way about that. But that was making it easy for Danielle Blackstock, not what's best for my staff and my students, because people don't receive from people they don't trust and they don't have an intimate relationship with. So just doing a whole lot of self-reflecting, self-learning as an individual, but also as a leader.
So y'all people, I want y'all to know she has now been a principal now for you going to year 4 or 5 as principal?
Year 3 as head principal, year 7 as an administrator at some type.
So 7 years. So I know y'all need to pick y'all jaws up, because she said she became an administrator at 26 and she only looked 24. She's, she's pushing her 30s, so just letting y'all know. Actually, in about 3 months, we actually doing the birthday cruise.
Big 3-5. Also, shameless tag, very single, ready to mingle. Let me know.
I knew that was coming. So let's once again, I want to tie mindset and approach back, because you have a unique experience that I wish I would ever had in my time as a teacher or an administrator. Because when you talk about that, not separating your professional and personal, your daughter, my beautiful goddaughter Adeline, is a student in your building. You've been her principal. What has that experience been like from a mindset and approach, and making sure that in my daughter's classroom, I want the best for her, but in that next classroom next door, I want that same thing if my daughter's in that classroom as well?
That's actually a great question, best friend. I actually, me and VaShawn, we taught together side by side. I was a middle school social studies teacher. He taught middle school math for 7th grade. And so my whole teaching experience is in middle school. And so when Adeline got to pre-K, she was approaching kindergarten age. It was important for me to transition to an elementary school because I wanted to be somewhere that I wanted my own child to go to. It also, after the years of having so many students come to you that's so behind in reading and math, it was like my passion shifted to like, I want to start with the younger age group and like fix it before it's too late. And so as I moved into a head principalship, it was important to me that I can authentically say, not lie, be transparent, that I can say if a parent asks me, what's the best classroom or who's the best teacher, that I can be comfortable with saying I would put my own child anywhere in any of my K2 classes. I am the kindergarten through 2nd grade principal at University Academy. We split the building in half because it's a really big elementary school. But I want to authentically say that, and just being transparent. I don't know that it has always been like that, but I feel like I'm so close to that goal, and not no shade at anybody, but you want to make sure that the student is like nurtured whole, not just focused on academics, not just focused on, the social emotional side. You want to prepare the whole student. And that is what my purpose is as a K2 lower school principal.
So shout out to a few that, because I know a lot of times we always talk as leaders, I want my building to run as if my kid was a student here, and like to live that experience, I think brings it home in a whole different perspective. So shout outs for you for making that transition from middle school to elementary. I don't think I could ever do that. So I'm definitely a middle school person. I work at a high school now, and I love every single day of it. Especially this year's been amazing. Shout out to the class of 26, who was my first 6th grade babies when I was a middle school principal starting out. One day I hope to go back to middle school, because that's truly where my love is at. But let's kind of shift into people now, and let's talk about people. And I've had a front row seat to your journey from day one, and there's a lot of things we can talk about, from seventh grade boys dropping pencils at you to pick them up, to cheer
I was
incidences at
hoping that
PLC meetings.
we wasn't gonna share the moment.
I mean, we've had a lot of experience. We can talk about team meetings with cheer situations. There was a lot that has gone on in our journey and things like that. So, but I want to ask, who are some other leaders that help shape your leadership? Mentors, sisters, brothers in the amazing Blue and White family. Shout out to Phi Beta Sigma, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, the only constitutionally bound organizations out there. But who's been a part of your circle that's helped you get to where you're at today?
I have to first give shout out and thanks to God, Heavenly Father, and my parents. They've always had high expectations for me, and it's never been a doubt in my mind that I was going to accomplish whatever I need to accomplish academically and in my career, because that was ingrained in me, like, to the core. So I have to start with the foundation, and that is definitely my faith in my parents. But I'd say one of the most influential people to my education journey would have to be Dr. Mitchell. He was my first principal at Northwest Middle School before it had a name change. And he showed me what it's like to be a leader that comes with love. And he truly loved his students, and he loved his staff, and he was so personable, and he, built relationships, and he just, it wasn't like one of those things where it's just, oh, your principal's giving small talk. They genuinely don't care. Like, he genuinely cared. And it was just things that he's done for me that I can never repay. Just a perfect example. I was a single mother. I had Adeline 10 weeks early, and I think I might have had, 6 weeks of time, 8 weeks of time in my bank. And so I could have, went and wait to use my maternity leave while she was in the NICU, which I wouldn't have been able to spend nearly as much time with her once she got out of the NICU. Or he gave me the allowance to, my planned period was in the morning, which was 90 minutes. So he gave me the allowance to come at 90 minutes later, so I could go to the NICU in the morning and then go to the NICU right after school to be with my baby, and then use my maternity leave once she went out of the NICU. So it's just like things like that, like somebody that just really has a good heart. DeAndre Josenberg, he was also an influential principal because he gave me the other side. Dr. Mitchell is the warm and fuzzy, and he gave me the other side about accountability and how everybody wants accountability until it's for themselves. And he really definitely did a good job of me just kind of blending everything. Other influential people, of course, my day one, Dr. Smith. I was just wet behind the ears as a teacher, and I was just trying to float above. Like, I graduated college when I was 21, so straight into a classroom again. Everybody remember themselves in their 20s, but I was naive, but he definitely helped me and just coached me, and then continued the journey. I cannot go without naming my co-pilot, my co-principal, Aisha Smith at UA, my big sister, LaShanette Kemp, at UA, and it's just other partners that we have in the school. My assistant principal, Nairi Young, Lavette Amerson. Like, when I say if you come to University Academy, you will be mind blown about our staff demographics. 60% or more is minorities. The whole leadership team, principals are all African American women, so it makes you feel safe to be yourself. It makes you feel you have so many people you can go to because you have some shared or lived experiences. And I probably went on a long tangent. And if I left anybody out, please charge it to my brain and my heart. Because if you are near and dear to me, even like my best friends who are nowhere near in education, but they allow me to vent about stuff they don't know what I'm talking about. So all of y'all, love y'all.
That's a good way to clean it up, but we are going to shout out one person. We definitely got to shout out Tiffany, who, y'all were teachers, roommates in that early days, things like that, who is also now doctor doing big things out in St. Louis. So shout out to her as well.
Sorry. And Tiffany, I literally spent the weekend with Tiffany. So yes, shout out to Tiffany. We were both pregnant at the same time as roommates, and we would have had our kids 1 month apart if Ellen did not come early. So that was a shared experience that no one needs to have. Nobody needs to be pregnant with their roommate. Let me just tell you that. A lot of food got ate. A lot of food got ate.
So, and then also shout out to your parents, who I've basically have, brought me on as kind of an adopted son since I've been in Kansas City. It's crazy how, like I said, our lives have been intermingled. Dr. Mitchell, who was the reason why I came to Kansas City, he hired me off of a 5-minute phone interview to come to Northwest Middle School. And I remember him telling me at the end, we were getting ready to the phone. He said, if anybody else call you, just tell them you took a job already. Like, I ain't got you hired yet, but it's gonna happen. Like, so shout out to Dr. Mitchell, who, I tell you people all the time, like, gave me a grounding in what it means to be a leader that really knows how to take care of his staff. The whole, if anybody knows anything about Dr. Smith, I make sure my staff is well fed, and that strictly came from Dr. Mitchell because we always ate good up at Northwest Middle School.
Listen, everybody talks about how much food we have and how it's always snacks. I'm always trying to do fun, exciting things, but it's like you spend so much time at school, and like the least I can do is make sure that you're not hungry,
And I was just like, even just in life, we have some of our best moments when we sit down and just break bread and be able to kind of step away from the classroom and just talk as human beings. And I think that's what that breeds, that culture of family and oneness when we sit down with our staffs, whether it's a luncheon, a breakfast, or just taking a snack cart around, just, being able to break bread with people like that. So definitely shout out to all those people. Shout out to your parents, like I said. Also amazing members of the Blue and White family as well.
Yes. You know what? My dad is actually a middle school teacher in the University Academy too. So full circle moment, like it's a lot of Blackstocks in one building. And I wanted to touch on a little bit breaking bread. When we talk about being authentic and being role models, just one thing I want to highlight is when you sit and eat and you fellowship, you are talking, right, as an adult. And so there's things like moments where staff can be a little riled up that the cafeteria is loud or the student, or we want to do silent lunch. And I'm like, you don't sit down and eat and not talk to anybody that you sitting next to. And I'm not going to do that to children just because I can. And that is the mind shift that I want people to understand. When you come into a school, you're a teacher, you're a staff member, there's always a power dynamic, and the littles are at the end of the totem pole. So just keep that in the forefront when we talk about putting students first. Is like, would I want this for myself? Would I want this for my own child?
And what you said at the beginning with mindset and approach, also how you ground yourself in advocacy. So advocating for your students, who you said like are the ones that have the least voice in the building but matter the most, and how we elevate their voices and bring them to the forefront of that work. And then the other thing I want to talk about, because if we go back to episode 5 with Dr. Davis, with Teachers Like Me, and she highlights with the work she's doing with recruiting Black educators to come to Kansas City and building out that partnership with school districts around the city. Our next episode 9, will be with Cornell Ellis with Block KC, and how he's talking about how the work he's doing with bringing Black male educators to the forefront in Kansas City. To be in a building, and I want you to kind of just hit upon this a little bit more, and I know you talked about it, but I really want to pull on this string of being in a building where the entire leadership team from kindergarten through 12th grade is Black females. It's a powerful thing to be a part of. So can you just talk a little bit about the power of that team?
You know what? We're such a cohesive team, but we also have built those relationships with each other that when we don't, when we have to disagree about shared space, or who's gonna get this classroom, or whose idea we're gonna go with, that because we built that level of trust that we can have professional disagreements. And it's also like it's just crazy. I don't know how to explain it. It gives me goosebumps to think that I can literally go to a career fair and be like, my own child goes to my school, and you will not find a district where all the principals are Black women. And not only that, at some point, all their children have went to UA. They either graduated or they're currently there, because we really believe in the mission and the vision. And I know that children are just twice as likely to be able to be successful when they see people that they identify with and that looks like them. And so, I don't know if you're on this call and you're like, I don't like going to the career fairs, but you're a minority leader, like you need to revisit that. Like, I definitely don't want to drive to Springfield later on this month, but that's the college I went to. That's where my sorority Theta Pi. my chapter is. And it's like, it means so much to me to be able to go. And even if I don't catch any fish, just to have a presence for them to see like, wow, there is someone that I can relate to who's made it. Or making it, because we ain't made it yet. I ain't Dr. Smith level yet.
But like you said, even if you don't catch any fish, just to be like something that people can aspire to be, like that may be the whole purpose why you're there on that campus that day. That somebody's like, oh my God, I'm not gonna give up now because I see Miss Blackstock did it, so that means that I can do it as well. And I just want to kind of hit upon this, and we'll jump into the next thing. But you talked a lot about the professional side of thing. Like I've seen the pulling and the camaraderie on the personal side of things as well, and how y'all hang out and done things. I mean, you're their lash tech as well. So shout out, if you're looking to get your lashes done in Kansas City, but like just the whole understanding the what it means to be a Black woman in all your essence, I think is what makes that team powerful as well. So, so let's jump into the next piece of the framework, impact. Sorry, now let me go back. Practices. Let's step back. My apology, Whitney, but practices. So, I want you to give some leaders out there, matter if they're, young African-American females, young, whoever they are, just young leaders coming up. What are some routines, rituals, leadership habits that have helped you stay focused to what matters the most for you? Like you said, is advocacy, making sure the littles have a voice. So what are those routines and rituals? Something like you said, you make sure you go to morning meetings every other week. What are some of those other things that you do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that helps you keep the work at the forefront and your purpose aligned with what you're doing?
Consistency for sure. I want to make sure that I'm consistent with being present in classrooms, and sometimes it's not always possible to keep that every other momentum with morning meetings. But there is no reason why in 2 weeks, 3 weeks that I have not had a post check on a classroom. So just informal observations. And not every time you have to feel like you got to leave a note or you got to give incredible feedback. You can just have a micro conversation and just whisper it in their ear. And so just also, checking in, having mid-year check-ins, having quarterly check-ins, creating that space where teachers feel safe to talk to you. And then if you aren't the best person to help solve these problems, to make sure that you relate to your other members of your leadership team. Another thing that I think is important to know is to identify what your why, but also what triggers you. What gets you riled up? It might be a 3 for somebody else, but it might be a 10 for you. And I'll just use myself, for example. If anybody's watching this and you are the eldest child, I have 4 younger siblings. One passed away, to gun violence, and I miss him dearly. And so shout out to AJ. He is one of the also reasons why I went to education, is because he kept getting in trouble at school, and for silly reasons that had the longest consequences. And I was like, I'm gonna go be a principal and I'm gonna change that. But you want to identify your triggers. And as an oldest child, the younger children, for whatever reason, get treated completely different. And so things that are not fair, it riles me up. So I have to know that I have to sometimes let up about things that, it's always people over policy. So sometimes everything can't be black and white. And so identifying that, processing, not always being so quick with it, and just other things that might be a pet peeve of yours. But another thing is I try to model, I have self-growth is so important to me personally. Things happen to us as children, as adults that, impacts our thought process. So I know that if I'm my best self, then I can be my best self at work and with my own child. It's just constantly reprogramming, because you want to give your children, personal children, or your children at school, the person that you needed when you were little. So just always trying to when things get hot and heavy, just make sure that I know why I'm doing it.
I appreciate that, and definitely shout out to your brother AJ. So I want to kind of dig a little bit deeper into that and kind of ask a follow-up question, because back on episode 3, we had Dr. Buchanan, who was my executive coach, who has helped me grow as a leader tremendously over the last year, and just really taking my own accountability on what I can do better as a leader, not always projecting out to things that I can't control. But one of the things that he talks about in that episode that I have really honed in on is this, what I feel now is a myth of work-life balance, because he said that your work and your life shouldn't be balanced. You should have more life than you have work. So how do you ensure that work doesn't take over your life and you get to step away and really decompress? Because sometimes we take work home so much that it becomes a part of our life, and it diminishes the quality of our life because we pull so much on work. And education is such a personal field that we're in because it's so tied to who we are as a person. But how do you separate the work day from your home life and making sure that you have time to recharge and that you can come back and be your best self as a leader?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think it's probably a work in progress for everybody that's in this role. I have to have a really tight schedule. Like I said, I'm a single parent, so she might have things going on, doctor's appointments or meetings after school. And I, like Dr. Smith mentioned, I do lashes. Like I mentioned, health is important. I try to work out or at least go on a walk every day. Dibbling and dabbling in some travel agent stuff. So like I need to be so efficient from 7 to 3 while I'm at the building that I don't have to take a lot of work home. But you know, this morning I also utilized extra time. There's no reason why I was up at 5 o'clock this morning. I could have laid there in bed and been on social media and twiddled my thumb. But instead I was like, you know what? I got a ton of follow-up emails that I was going to do on Monday. Let me just do it now and have them scheduled to come out on Monday morning. That way, that's just clearing up stuff off of my plate. And yes, is it technically am I working at home? But that was time I didn't expect, and also just, you know, being productive. Same thing, like shout out to anybody that suffers with insomnia. That sometimes I wake up way earlier than I'm supposed to, and so to free up time in the evenings, I'm like, let me just do my workout now. Not saying that that's solid advice, but when basically just making the best of what time that you have. I know a lot of people who love to socialize at work. I'm a talker. And sometimes I got to be like, nope, let me not go down to such and such office. Now let me step away in the middle of this conversation, because that time, especially as someone in, you make your own schedule. You know, if you're a teacher, you got that 55-minute plan period. And if you need to decompress and talk to your peers, I'm not going to knock that. However, I'm in a position where technically maybe I got 3 or 4 meetings on my books, and I have to make that time to go into classrooms, and I could choose to talk or I can choose to do other things. So it's just like just being efficient, holding myself accountable to my calendar, and making sure that I always find time for myself. Like I said, play is very important to me. It's something that I value. So I don't really, you know, got to worry about, am I going to make time for myself? If any, or do something fun. If anything, I juggle a lot, and just making sure that, do I have to do all those things?
And when I tell y'all, when she talks about that insomnia workout thing, is real, because I'll get up in the morning and be getting ready to leave for work and put my Apple Watch on, and it'll be like, Danny has completed her work. And I'm like, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. How have you already completed the workout? And I'm just now leaving for work. But the other thing is also, I think, you know, that thing I love about our friendship and how it's grown, and we kind of sit in the same seat, even if it's at different levels, we do a lot of the same struggles, is we can be like, hey, let's go to happy hour, or like this Sunday, we're going to do Sunday Fun Day tomorrow as we go watch the Chiefs beat up on the Eagles in the Super Bowl rematch. But we can like,
people be doing? They be doing this. That's what the cool kids do. We outside tomorrow.
I'm not a cool kid, so I couldn't tell you. But like, even like that, like, you know, the game starts at 3:30, but like, okay, you know, our table reservations at 1, so we can take that time ahead and kind of decompress, talk about work, catch up, you know, because we both live very busy lives and things like that. And that's the thing I love about our friendship, is that we can connect over happy hour, a wine tasting at Cooper's Hawk, talk about work, but also recharge each other at the same time in that process. The next thing I will talk about is impact. So as you reflect back on your journey, whether it be in the classroom, your time as an instructional coach, which I absolutely love. You know, I'm a big proponent of administrators being instructional coaches, because it helps you when you go into coach a teacher as an administrator. Is there a student, a teacher, a parent, some situation where you was like, yes, I was called to do this work. This is what I was put on earth to do, and I know I'm making a difference?
Let me say this. Kindergarten teachers should have the hardest job in the world. And when y'all be like, oh, I need to run to the restroom, I'm like, no one else is responding in the group chat like, oh, here I come. Because those kids are going to give you a run for your money in those 5 minutes that I'm in there alone. but just being in there, and they love Miss Blackstock. Every kindergarten group I have, first, second grade, they'll compliment me over and over. So if I ever need a self-esteem boost, got to go through the little's classroom. But it's the cards, it's the drawings, it's the I want to be you when I grow up, or how do I be a principal, or what do principals do? It's just having like that impact and knowing that they, as much as I light up, they light up when they see me. But I think too, what is also important, or like my why of impact of, is like students. They say, I can tell that they feel safe and they feel happy to be here. And it's just, I've turned, I guess, some of my pain points into passion, and being able to be relatable to our parents and our students. I think that's important too. Like I said, me and you both unfortunately have a share of losing a brother to gun violence. I'm a single mother. Not to say that that's something I want to bond with parents over, but 75% of our African-American children are in a single parent home. And so when someone is expressing how they don't have time for homework or this and the third, I can authentically say, I understand. And here's what I do. Or, you know what? As your principal, I know that that's not going to have if you can only choose these two things, do the sight words or do the reading every day if you can't get to that. So having those authentic conversations. I have a student, my own child has an IEP for, motor skills. So not academically, but when I have my parents who have students on IEPs or need some more support with 504s, again, using those pain points, using things that I have personally dealt with to be there and be an advocate. And I don't know if I will get the opportunity to share how I became in education. I missed this person. So what made me want to become a teacher was my second grade teacher. Her name was Miss McDuffie. And she was my one and only Black teacher that I had in elementary school. And so, again, just like my littles, they want to be me. I'm like, I want to be like Miss McDuffie. And at the point in time as a second grader, I probably truly didn't know what I was going to do. It was just sounding good at the time. But my third grade year, it was a conversation. My parents attended a meeting to put me, I skipped a grade. I skipped kindergarten. They attended a meeting to put me back in my regular grade. This teacher suggested that I'm very talkative and distracted because of my age, because I'm immature. That's what they equated it to be. And so the best solution would be, after all these years, go and put her back in her regular grade. And so I'm sitting in the hallway, like outside on the floor, and I'm like, I don't know what my fate gonna be. I'm feeling like defeated. I'm feeling unloved. I'm feeling unworthy. I'm feeling shame because, like, what do I say when I go back to this grade that I was never a part of? Like, just all of those things. And I see Miss McDuffie come down the hallway, and she is joining this meeting. And I didn't know how it was gonna go with her joining, but I know I instantly felt better. I knew I had someone on my side. I knew I had an advocate. As a second grader, I didn't necessarily know all of those words, but I felt better. And the solution that came out of that was, she said, no, it's not about maturity. She's bored. Do this what I did. Do X, Y, and Z. And she advocated for me. And that is why advocacy is so important to me, because I don't know what my life would have been like had I been placed in my correct grade. I would have had new friends. I might have had some rejection or something that I had to deal with. And I might have had a friend group then that they might have been more in the streets. And, everything could have looked different. So, like, just continue to be there for our littles, because they really do need us. Like, and we needed somebody when we were younger.
Shout out to Miss McDuffie for, being that advocate, for being that role model, even in second grade, that you can still today kind of think back of, like, that's what I want to be. I want to be that advocate. I want to be that person that steps into the room this kid that's misunderstood. This kid, one of the reasons why I went in education, I'll never forget this. Miss Lewis was my fifth grade teacher. I was in a fourth, fifth grade split class where half the kids were in fourth grade, half were in fifth grade. We were on separate sides of the room, but we had one teacher. And I'll never forget this as long as I live, where Miss Lewis, and I was not like you. I spent a lot of time in the principal's office, a whole lot. But
you didn't have parents like my own. They didn't play that.
Miss Lewis put me in front of the class and told me everything I wasn't, and all I was going to be was a statistic. I mean, just like talked about me so bad. And sitting here at 45 years old, I still remember, I can still see myself sitting in that chair, looking at my classmates, and she stands in front of me and tells me all these things I was going to be. And mind you, she was my first Black teacher. Like
Wow.
my first Black teacher. And I just, and I remember later on in life, when I got to college and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, like I went back to that memory and I said, I never want another Black boy to experience that. And if they do, I want to be that person that's going to stand in the gap and say, no, you were wrong. You were wrong. And tell that kid, you can be everything you want to be. Let me tell you my story. Let me tell you how I got expelled in 8th grade. Let me tell you how I wasn't supposed to go to high school. Let me tell you how I went to an alternative school. This year's freshman class, when I went to go talk to them in 8th grade, I told them my story, but I told them from the standpoint, hey, let me tell you a story about a kid I know. And then I got to the end, I told them, I said, and now they stand in front of you as a high school principal. So don't ever let anyone tell you what you can't be, that you can't never figure it out, that you can't get it together in that process. So shout out to Miss McDuffie. And another thing I want to tell you that I want to highlight that you said, because it's such a strong point for me, and I didn't have the words that you just said, is like, how do we take our pain points and turn them into our passion? And that's what I did. Like I took that experience with Ms. Lewis and turned it into my passion to be an advocate in education. You took that experience of like, hey, I was sitting in that hallway feeling defeated. And as soon as I saw Ms. Duffy, I knew it was going to be better. So as educators that are out there listening to this, like, what is that pain point? What is that thing that hurts you that you could say, you know what? I'm gonna make sure this never happens to another kid, another high school student, another middle school student. So really want to bring that up and highlight that piece of that pain point and making that your passion and your mission to move forward in this work, because sometimes this work is heavy, it's hard, we want to quit, we don't get the recognition we need, parents don't understand. So it's that thing that keeps us going back to, this is why I do this work. So I appreciate you sharing that story about Miss McDuffie and just your experiences of, being a mother with a student with an IEP, and speaking of that point, being a single mother and, and being in a career field and helping parents understand that piece. So you have a lot of experience, I think, you bring to your school community that goes far beyond what your resume says, that I hope your school and your system understands the power that you bring to that position. So
thank
make
you.
sure
I
to listen
will
to this
be
episode.
sure to forward this out to everybody so they can
Yeah.
see it. But can I
Especially when it's time to talk about raises. So
hey, amen. Can I bring up one thing though, that what I appreciate about your experience is I ran into kind of like two different types of Black educators, and please don't nobody, jump me later. It's like
we don't kill you in the comments, but go ahead.
Somebody advocated for me and somebody helped me, so I'm gonna help you as a teacher. And then there's like another group. It was like, I figured it out, and so should you. And it's like the kind of like empathy or compassion or advocacy, and that's just not helpful. Like, it's so hard to be a minority in this time and age, and like the person that should be rooting for them, if anybody, should be other Black people. And so they have a Black teacher, a minority teacher, and you're like, well, I figured it out. Or Dr. Smith, this teacher told me I wasn't going to do nothing. And so I became something for myself, and you should be able to figure it out too. That's not the approach you took. And so I just want us to be mindful is that we might have had struggles, but there are so many kids who's had struggles 10 times fold. Like, I would never understand or be able to relate to, well, I don't know, they did a good job if we were very, very poor, but like being very, like, I never had to go without food. We went without a little bit of cable here and there, but like there are some people that's their everyday struggle. They can't wait to get a meal when they get in the building. Like, so I just want to express that.
I appreciate you pulling that up next. So let's jump into the next piece of our framework. So next step. So what's next for you, Bestie? So what are you dreaming of building? What's going to step into the next chapter, as you unfold rolling into year 35? Shout out to the cruise. Can't wait to get to Catalina Islands, Ensenada. Yeah, we going to really be outside then, outside. But when you look at your life personally and professionally, what's next for you? What are the things that you're shooting for that you are praying that God open doors for as you move through this life?
That's a good question. As I recall, again, I think I'm a fake psychologist sometimes, or life coach. But as I brought up earlier, I don't have any limited beliefs around eternally or subconsciously around career or success. So I've been dragging my feet on getting another degree, because I am one of those people. Like, I got this degree. I only have my master's right now. I've been dragging my feet on getting an S.P.E.C. or a doctorate because it's like, I know once I have it, because I'm going to get it, it's going to be like, what's next? And I've been an overachiever my whole life. That's just something that was a way for me to deal with anxiety or other like self-esteem issues, is just be the best. And I couldn't play no sports, so the only thing I could do was academics. And so to finally have been like reprogramming and unpacked, and to just be comfortable and like being in a space where I can just enjoy it and just sit there instead of waiting for the next best thing, like it's like a bittersweet moment. But now I'm like knocking on the door where I got to keep my license. So I definitely know sometime down the line it's going to be assistant soup, and I would love an HR capacity, and that is another way. I have a very big passion for retaining and recruiting teachers, and just making sure that there is somebody looking out. Thankfully, I'm in a building surrounded with minority professionals and people that are part of the recruiting and hiring, the principals, but that is not the case. And if we don't know a lot, we know the research supports that students will be more successful if they are taught by or in buildings with people that look like them. So definitely like that. I would love to dabble in being like associate professor, and just continuing mentoring, and things like that.
So, and just for the record, y'all, I've been telling her for the last 4 years she can go ahead and back and get that doctorate, but she just on some bull crap. But we can talk
Does
about that
now? Does that answer, like, now it makes sense?
No,
can I get a little grace?
We'll let it ride though. Also, once again, I'm gonna jump back to here because I can't wait to be best man. So she is single, y'all out there. So the DMs is definitely open. So go ahead and hit her up. So we gonna wrap up
for lashes. And also, if you want a very affordable trip, because I do a little bit of this and that.
And I feel like if anybody hits you up off this episode about getting a trip, I need to get some kind of free trip off of it. So.
If you watch this episode and VaShawn referred you, you will get $25 off, and he will get $25 off his next trip.
I don't want 25. I want the whole trip. So let's go ahead and wrap up with
enough people. The math will math.
So we're gonna wrap up with gems. So I always say one piece of advice, but I always kind of give multiple lead-in questions, so you may want to address all of it. But this gem, I want you to speak to Black women stepping into leadership in a school system, or best friends that are deciding to become colleagues on purpose, or two people that are starting out who can grow into being best friends like we did. What advice would you give them as they move and navigate through this system of education?
Oh, that's a good question. You know what it is? Honestly, leadership can be lonely if you let it. And if this episode didn't tell you anything else, is like, you have to have your people, you have to have your community, because I supervise 30 staff members on my team. And so as I talk about the power dynamic of teachers to students, there's a little bit of skepticism around that. And they are I supervise them. So there's a different level of friendship or camaraderie that happens inside of a building versus teacher to teacher, if that makes sense. So you have to make sure that you have that time and that space to call mentors, touch bases with people in your field, and then also have that time and space to not do anything educated related, like don't bring it up, and then continue to have those moments of being able to be yourself. But yeah, don't make leadership lonely. That would be my gem.
And that's a powerful gem, because they always say it's lonely at the top, but when you have amazing best friends like I got, no moment is lonely, or there's never a dull moment, because there's always coming through the text message. I'm like, oh, here we go with this again. But with that, Bestie, I want to say thank you. You have been a friend, a fighter, a faithful leader in spaces that desperately need your fight and your light. I'm proud of you. I love you more than your babies at your school do. I love how you lead with integrity, and you never lose yourself in the work that you do on a daily basis. To my listeners, remember this: friendship can be fuel. Purpose can make this partnership powerful, and the principalship is better when you're not doing it alone, and when you got a bestie like mine. And as always, I got to shout out my super producer, Whitney, who is doing amazing things as a senior so far this school year, turning around Bulldog TV and growing the next level of leaders in our Bulldog TV program at Grandview High School. So shout out to you, Whitney, always making me look good on the show. And please go out and follow us on X at Dr. V Smith, the BlackPrint PC. Don't forget to subscribe. Share this with a leader who needs to hear this, especially if they're working with a best friend and moving mountains to do the work we do in education. You can always watch this platform on YouTube. Until next time, this is the BlackPrint, where dreams become reality when culture is intentional. Thank you for joining us on the BlackPrint podcast, where dreams become reality and culture is everything. Subscribe, rate, and share with someone leading with purpose. Stay connected to the BlackPrint. We're building more than a brand, we're building legacy. Follow us on X at BlackPrint PC and Dr. V Smith. This show is powered by Dreams Made Real, where dreams become culture.